Well, we know you can find great barbecue all across the Carolinas, but North Carolina and our sister state to the south don't have a monopoly on whole hog smoked low and slow. In fact, you can find Carolina barbecue at locations all around this great nation, including Maryland. That's where the Farm BBQ team is following our Carolina whole hog barbecue traditions, while at the same time, they're promoting local farm producers, just like those family farming operations that are really so integral to the very best barbecue in the Carolinas. So today, our podcast conversation takes us to the land of crab cakes and the home of farm barbecue, where Tommie and Will are crafting authentic Carolina style barbecue experiences in Maryland. Guys, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so excited to finally get a chance to talk. We've had some back and forth on Instagram, able to get in front of you guys and share with our audience what is farm barbecue.
Well, we started this venture as a way to support local agriculture and connect community. We saw a real need for bringing community together. It feels like the last 5 years or so very divisive, and we know what barbecue does. It brings people together. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. And we also saw a great need to support the local farms around where we live. So it was pretty much an effort that we saw an opportunity and we decided to dive in.
Yeah, great. Are you guys farmers or agribusinessmen yourself?
No, we're not farmers ourselves. We have the dream to retire and then work our butts off on a farm. But I'm in the restaurant business and I've been working with farmers for about 10 years. So I've got to know a lot of these families and really respect the quality of the product that they can provide us and, their approach to farming and to how they treat the land.
Okay. Well, tell me a little bit about how you guys got started. What was the seed that got planted and has grown into what you have today?
Yeah. Go ahead, Will. Let
Well,
you start.
Our third partner, Mark, he and I started to kind of hang out around 2020, and we started talking about barbecue, and we were both very passionate about it, and we kind of decided to just start cooking for our families. And then our families had some friends over, and then our friends had some friends over, and their friends had some friends over, until it got to a space where it was like, hey, you guys need to be doing this because there isn't anything like this around here. And Tommie and I have been friends for a few years, and I started talking to him about it, and we both kind of started getting into smoking whole hogs around the same time. So it was basically just, perfect situation, perfect scenario. And we just fell in love with the way that barbecue helps to build community.
Yeah, it's funny, Jerry, because in hindsight, I look at it and I think we both started off our barbecue journey barbecuing whole hogs, which is not really the usual place to start, but that's where we both began, and it's a very unique hobby, if you will. So once we found each other, it was like, gosh, the universe sent us to each other to work together. My background in several restaurants, and one of them is Hawaiian. So we were doing whole hogs in like a Hawaiian barbecue sense. I got to know Will, and Will started bestowing the wisdom of Carolina barbecue onto me, and our whole process at the Hawaiian restaurant has evolved a bit. We still reserve a little pineapple juice here and there and stuff like that, but it's very much more Carolina style at that restaurant too, just because the quality speaks for itself.
Okay. So, hey, I know you guys started your business in 2020, and there were a few things kind of going on in the world around that time. How has your business evolved since then? And those things I talked about, the pandemic, how did that really affect or motivate or disrupt your business? And I know you kind of mentioned, the farmers and their need for help. How have you guys evolved since then and addressed the pandemic during that time?
Well, like I said, initially it was just sort of building community in an informal way. Just at my house, we'd have people. We have a few acres over there, and
so I think the barbecue speakeasies as they started may have never came to fruition had the pandemic not existed, because everybody was home and looking for something to do outdoors, especially.
Yeah.
And it was like the perfect opportunity, everybody a lot of people that we know love barbecue. And it's, taken the country by storm in a great way. But I think having that extra time and being forced to be at home kind of made it more of an option for a lot of people to come out and partake.
Yeah, that's a common thread that we've heard from a lot of our guests. First of all, they make their barbecue for their friends like it. They say you need to do more of this. And during that COVID period, everybody getting outdoors, and whether you've got a food truck or pop-up, kind of like I know you guys' operation is, or, you've got a brick and mortar deal, the COVID, really kind of pushed people outside. And if you were ready to accommodate them, then you really had an opportunity on your hands.
All right.
So now tell me, how would you guys, we've mentioned this a couple of times, how would you describe Carolina barbecue?
Go ahead, Sensei.
Well, I think it depends who you're talking to. Certainly divisive, whether it be which part of the state are you from, and, who has the best sauce, all that. But when I think of Carolina barbecue, I think more about the method than the sauce. And there's one way to do it right, and that's low and slow, and it's with hardwood. I had the extreme pleasure and honor to visit a couple of Sam Jones and Sam Jones' father, the Skylight, and to go back there and spend some time with the pit masters and, see how the real masters, the 4 generations, how they kind of still do it today. And that had a massive impact on the way that we cook. Also want to shout out, Sam Jones for being incredibly kind to me personally, and just always willing to, bestow some knowledge on us. So I think Carolina barbecue, as much as all you Carolina people like to fight about what the best sauce is, it's really the method.
Yeah, definitely.
And maybe I'll just add, since we are Maryland boys, coastal folk, for me, and I think for our sauce that we'll get into, it's a little bit more of that Eastern style, apple cider vinegar heavy type barbecue sauce.
Okay. Well, so you mentioned there wasn't a lot of Carolina barbecue around you. What kind of barbecue do you guys have in Maryland? How would you describe it?
McDonald's, otherwise known as Mission Barbecue. Throw a little shade on that.
You have Mission Barbecue down there, Chigger?
No, not that I'm aware of. Maybe I'm lucky enough to avoid it.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of it?
I don't think so.
It's like a Chipotle of barbecue.
Okay. Good thing I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, if you combine those two, then you see what I'm saying. That's kind of what's ramping up here. You ever heard of something called pit beef?
Nope.
Oh, well, that's another famous Maryland barbecue. And I can't hit on it entirely, but I can accept that it's not real barbecue. And that's kind of, I think, the most common type of, again, air quotes, barbecue that you might find around here, which is really just slow roasted beef bottom. That's just slow roasted, not really with smoke, just over low heat. And then it's shaved and served on a sandwich.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess we do have a Mission Barbecue here in North Carolina. It's down in Fayetteville, where there's actually also real barbecue that you can get down east here in North Carolina. But we won't give them any more publicity. I want to give some publicity to your farmers. I know that's a big part of what you guys' business is. So let's talk about them. How did the farmers work into your equation, and how did you get them on board?
Well, it's kind of easy to get farmers on board because they're all super kind people, and the more you get to know your farmer, the more you love them. And I think the biggest challenge is that people don't get to know their farmer. So one of the big things that we're able to do with our superpowers is shine a spotlight on local farmers and the importance of local agriculture. So there's 3 main farms that we work with, and we've worked with others, and we hope and expect to work with others even more in the future. But kind of 3 main ones that are close to us that we think share a philosophy about the earth with us and about how animals and vegetables should be raised and treated. And so, we work with them a few different ways. One, we buy product from them as much as we can, whether that's whole hog which we have 2 farms that can do that, or cuts of animal that we can buy and barbecue as well. Because even though we started with whole hog, apparently you can just smoke shoulder only. How about that? I discovered that later in life. Wow, this is actually a little easier perhaps, but not the same, but
Right.
still. So we try to buy their products. A lot of these farms that we work with have markets on their premises, and they're, dabbling or thriving with CSA and, direct to home type sales. And so we try to really shine light on that because that's an easy way for people to connect with local farms and support them. And then, oh, please.
Well, I was just going to say, you touched on this, you have some like-minded folks that you work with. How do you choose which farms to partner with and sort of what's your rubric there?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we like working with regenerative farms because I didn't mention this before, but my grandfather was a dairy farmer way up in Paris, Maine, which is probably the worst place that you could be a farmer. Just a stubborn Maynard, and seeing the way that farming has changed in the last 50 years is heartbreaking. And it's also, there's been a steady decline in bioavailable nutrients in our protein and in our produce. And part of the regenerative model is, not only creating an absolute heaven on earth for the animals while they're alive, but creating an environment that is regenerative. And the tactics that go into maintaining a regenerative farm are as old as farming is, but they've somehow been forgotten. And so we're very passionate about trying to support local agriculture and trying to work with different entities to encourage farmers and maybe even help some farmers share their knowledge. Those farmers that are doing the regenerative farming, sharing their knowledge with farmers that maybe could benefit from it. Because at the end of the day, it's really just about making sure that we still have farmers in 50 years from now. And part of that is, farmers, just like you and I, they need to feed their families. And there has been so much, if you can go down to the local Walmart and pick up food, yeah, that will work. But if everybody keeps doing that, in 50 years from now, who's to say if we're going to have local farms? And we love the opportunity to be able to take any small steps towards supporting local agriculture. Part of that, as Tommie mentioned, is purchasing from these local markets. And another part is just doing our best to shine a spotlight on them. And we do that through our social media presence. And just trying to encourage people. I mean, there are people, one of the farms that we work with is 10 miles down the road. There are people that live 2 miles from that farm that have never heard of it before.
Wow.
So we are, we're sort of focused on trying to build community and support those local farmers by letting the community know, hey, you have this amazing resource right here. These farmers are doing things the right way. This is the very best protein and produce that you could possibly give to your children.
Yeah, so you kind of touched on it there for a second. My next question, are you just getting the hogs and the poultry there? I got your menu here on eatfarmbbq.com, pulled it up on the website. Y'all got a great site and, again, a great social media presence. But are you just getting chickens and hogs from these farmers, or are you also getting some of that other produce and then finding new ways to work that into your menu, whether it's the regular menu or specials?
Yeah, we definitely try to get vegetables. We get cabbage whenever we can because slaw is a staple for us.
Mm-hmm.
Just did a farm supper with our 3 farm guests and a bunch of other people, and it was garlic scapes and broccolini were in season, and so that was the vegetable we featured on the supper table for that. So yeah, we're happy to get creative, and in Maryland at least, you got about 1 month of peak season for almost every vegetable, and so we lean into that for a month, and then we'll move on to the next vegetable the next month.
Yeah, great. So, all right, let's get back to the barbecue now. Where do you get it? Where can I get the barbecue? I mean, I don't think y'all have a brick and mortar, right? Tell me how you get all these great products out into the world.
Well, so right now we are a mobile unit. Um, People around Maryland can find us at festival. This weekend we're doing the Harmony Woods Music Festival, which is, from what I understand, a pretty significant event. We're there Friday and Saturday. It'd be a bunch of folks playing banjos and singing, and but you can find us at breweries every weekend. We also are doing a breakfast concept that we do at the Havre de Grace Farmers Market every other Saturday. And right now we're really just kind of focused on hitting these events and letting people in our local area know where they can find us every weekend. And it is truly amazing how many people find us every weekend. And people that don't even drink will stop by a brewery that we're at and say, hey, my wife sent me, or I came to get food for my family tonight, or it's pretty cool. And it's a great signifier that we are moving towards a space where a brick and mortar will be possible, and ultimately more than one. And the direction of all this is to build, because we believe in being really transparent in the way that we do business, and we know that the more that we can, the better Farm BBQ does, the better the farms around us will do, because we will continue to stay fervent to this message of supporting local agriculture.
In addition to doing these pop-ups that we do almost every weekend at breweries and festivals and stuff, we do private events. So, you can reach out to us. We do a lot of catering where we come to their venue, their home, wherever they want us to be. And right now we're trying to get our food truck on the road. It's been in the shop getting tweaked and finished for the last couple months, 4, 5 months, but we're getting close. So soon we'll have that up and running, which won't change our flow of operations a whole lot, except that we can do a lot more. We can do more events more frequently, and we want to broaden the menu a little bit. We're proud of having a tight quality menu. We want to keep it such, but with a truck, and a deep fryer, we can do a few more things.
Sure,
Right
yeah.
now,
I'm glad you mentioned the menu. It is tight. You've got a couple of barbecue sandwiches, 3 of them, and some sides, drinks, cookies, and this is all again on eatfarmbbq.com. What's the strategy in kind of keeping that tight menu?
It's gotten a little bigger than that too lately. I would say we've gone a little bit bigger to where now we're featuring St. Louis ribs. We've got a Holy Trinity, which is a bit of a sampler, which has really taken off. And a few other versions that you can get our pulled pork and our pulled chicken, not just in the sandwich.
Okay.
But it is still the same kind of, it's really just different applications of the same pork and chicken. That's so fire. And I think the idea for us is to keep it simple and keep the quality high. We can get a little bigger, and we will, but as far as our menu goes, but we don't want to get too big, because you can't do everything great, and we want to be great.
Yeah. So speaking of getting too big, how far out do you guys go? And I know, you're in the Falston area, which is a little northeast of Baltimore. Looked at the map, saw it on Google Maps. How far is y'all's reach for your catering or your food truck or your pop-up operations?
I think right now it's been about 50 miles.
Yep. We have been contracted to go out of state a few times. We went up to the Catskills and did a wedding up there where we did 3 massive whole hogs. We built a giant pit and spent it was a 29-hour cook. But so we will travel when the opportunity is right for us. But we are sort of just in a space right now where, I got to be honest with you, there aren't a whole lot of folks that have had good North Carolina barbecue around here. And every time that we have an event, people will come up to us hours after eating our food and being like, oh my God, what was that? Like, I was expecting, I don't know what they were expecting. A barbecue sandwich doesn't really sound that special around here. But then when they have real barbecue, then they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. One of the other things that Tommie was talking about that we started doing is just essentially using sort of the same products, but we did add spare ribs and St. Louis. And so what our most popular menu item is called the Holy Trinity. And it's a boat, and it is a bed of our Maryland mac and cheese. And then we have rib tips, barbecue chicken and barbecue whole hog on there. And that is far and away our best seller, because you know how
Wow.
people like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, my mouth's watering just thinking about that. That sounds great. So let's talk about your sauce now. And I've seen it on Instagram, and you guys were good enough to share your recipe with it. You know, what is it with the sauce? How did it come into being, and where can I find it out in the world if I want to get me some?
Well, you can check our website for sure. That's the first thing. Eat Farm BBQ, eatfarmbbq.com,
Hmm.
and there are links to our sauce there. Also, please follow us on social media on Instagram. We're at Eat Farm BBQ. And so our sauce is a little bit different. If you are a traditional Eastern North Carolina diehard, you might find something that you like in it. They often do. But our sauce is a marriage between the traditional Northern and Southern barbecue traditions. And I have to disclose something that I haven't felt comfortable mentioning up until this moment, but I am from Massachusetts. Um,
Wait a minute. Do we have to shut this down?
Talk about this.
So when I was growing up, I thought barbecue sauce was molassesy, overly sugar, just red sauce on a piece of meat. And I don't know if you know this, but New England's not known for its barbecue. So it wasn't until I was in my late 20s when I met what came to be my wife, who is from the South, that I learned what real barbecue was. And the very first time that I had real barbecue was on my honeymoon. And we were passing through North Carolina. We stopped and had it. And it was an absolute revelation. Who would have thought you could put apple cider vinegar in barbecue sauce? I thought barbecue sauce was just sugar. So anyhow, it's a culmination of a marriage between Northern and Southern traditions. And that's one of the things that makes our barbecue sauce so unique, is that it's a blend. And so we have, us Yankees up here, we can appreciate it because it is sweet. And then the folks down south that like true barbecue can also appreciate it because it's essentially half apple cider vinegar.
Great. And as I look at the recipe, and we're going to share that recipe on our blog at lowslowbbqshow.com. Keep your eyes out for it there. But I see that you've got that apple cider vinegar, and you've also got the ketchup. So you're blending that Eastern and Western style, and really that's more of a Western style, what they do in the Lexington part of our state. So we'd call it Western blend and not Eastern. But love to have the vinegar in there, and thanks so much for sharing that recipe with us. And again, everybody listening can find it online at eatfarmbbq.com. Make an order and get some purchases there. So now, guys, I want to kind of take us into what I call the family jewels, sort of the things that are important to you. What's special about your operation and you as human beings? So, how long have you guys been smoking meat low and slow, and how'd you get your start?
Well, we've been smoking individually for about 5 years and together for about 3. I'll tell you, I'll speak to myself first. Like I said earlier, I'm a restaurant guy. That's my business. I don't know how many Greek people you have down in the Carolinas, but up in Maryland, you're either a dentist or a restaurant guy. That's it. And I like food. So it was roast and whole hogs for this Hawaiian restaurant of ours that just made me fall in love with barbecue, because I started off doing that more traditional Hawaiian. Then I just started learning more and more about American barbecue. Then I met the sensei. He took me under his wing and taught me a lot of the tricks that I didn't know. And it all kind of came from there, and I'll say, what's special about it, and I think what separates us from most people, and you can appreciate this being from Carolina, is that it's just one of those things that can't be rushed. If you want authentic barbecue, you got to find somebody that's willing to stand over a smoker for 12 hours or more. And that's us sickos, what time you want barbecue at noon? All right, we'll start it at 10 p.m. and just babysit it all night long. That's fine. And as long, what they say, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. We're blessed. We get to hang out with each other. Mark, who's not here, and a couple other members of our team, and babysit the smoker, tell stories, get better, taste our food over and over and over. That's the secret.
Yeah, it's not a bad life then. So let me ask you guys, Tommy, I guess you obviously turned to Will for advice, the sensei as you called him. Will, where do you turn for advice in this world of whether it's running the business or making the barbecue?
Well, Tommie's approaching this with a little bit too much humility. The truth is that Tommie owns two very successful restaurants, and knows more about food than I could ever hope to.
But neither is Carolina barbecue, and that's why you're
I
yet.
I think that I think that it's very sort of special the way that the three of us, me, Tommie, and Mark, came together, and it did truly begin as a friendship, and I think that that's one of the. I think that comes through. That's what I've heard a lot of feedback when people come out and meet us for the first time when we're doing an event. What they talk about is how authentic we are. And I think that comes through in our media. Believe me, man, I never, ever intended to have any kind of a social media presence. I don't have my own personal socials or anything like that. I'm an old man, way too old for that stuff. But the thing is that what I have noticed is it is a necessary part of being able to connect and build community. We're just, we're just grateful that our community will have us.
Yeah, cool. So talk to me about your typical cooking setup. What are you using? What are you smoking on? What type of wood do you guys like to use?
Well, we only use hardwood, of course. We're not truists in that we can't sit here like Mr. Franklin and say we only use post oak or anything like that. We are in Maryland, so we are, we have limited access to the types of that really good Texas or South Carolina, Georgia, even North Carolina timber, but we do use predominantly oak. There are certain times where, we'll go in for some hickory, never too much. And even, on a rare occasion, mesquite to either typically to begin the protein with, but never, I found that oak, red oak or white oak, it simply is the best way to get a consistent product. And so we have a couple different ways that we do barbecue. One of them, which is the most work and my favorite, which is to build a pit. And we do that often, and we do that for private parties. And anybody that's from Carolina knows what that is. It's just a pallet full of cinder blocks and some good old fashioned grit. And we love doing it that way. We also have a 500-gallon barrel that was converted into a smoker. And then more recently, in March, we drove out to Ohio and visited our friend from Hoggy's Barbecue, which is actually a really good barbecue place in Ohio. And they had us out there to hang out and try some of their food. And while we were there, we picked up a 250 gallon it's a Meadow Creek.
Meadow Creek T250.
Yes, sir. And
Meadow Creek, I don't know if you know much about Meadow Creek in Carolina. You see those? No, that's an Amish made smoker. So that's near us in Pennsylvania, just an hour away. That's all Amish made. We can go to the factory where they make it, wait for them to customize our accessories and just hand it right to us. It's a real joy working with Meadow Creek.
Yeah, great.
When we get the brick and mortar, we'll be taking a trip down to Texas or to Georgia to Lang's and getting a real deal, which I'm already salivating over. But
yeah, well, hey, the cinder blocks and rebar that's as real deal as it gets, if you ask me. So again, I'm back on your website, eatfarmbbq.com. I see you've got a private masterclass for the Carolina barbecue method. Tell me about what's included in that. What's involved? What would I experience in one of you guys' master classes?
I'll start off with this one. I'll let you take it. But this is one good example of a way that we try to work with different local farms. Because it's about buying their product and encouraging our community to buy their products. And there's a neat thing about agro-tourism, right? And getting people just to visit the farms and experience what it's like out and spend a few hours out there. And so this is an event that we host at one of our partner farms. And it's just a great way, first off, to get people to see their name and encourage them to come visit the farm. Now, once we get there, then it's the actual master class that we can be a part of. I'll let Will kind of take it from there. But
yeah, so there are a few different ways to do it. More of a white glove approach. You might just have a weekend warrior or some folks that got some good Father's Day gifts where they get this experience and they can show up and they can smoke their cigars and drink their scotch and help get the hog on. And while that's happening, like Tommie said, we work with the farmers. So it will be us sort of, verbally bringing people through the process from start to finish. And then also the farmer will be there as well, talking about, how the hog was raised, what, where on the farm it was. And it's really just an immersive experience where you get all the benefit of understanding not only what local agriculture has to bring, but also understanding and hopefully learning a thing or two about how you could bring and smoke that kind of you could bring those skills to your own home. Also we like to have a good time.
Yeah, so that kind of leads me sort of to a final question as our time's getting tight. You shared that what's coming next is hopefully some brick and mortar down the line. Again, you guys are wearing out the social media. I love all the stuff you do, and I know that's an important part of your business. So between the the food trucking and the catering and the working with the farmers and the social media, why do you guys keep doing this?
I'll tell you, I have 3 reasons why. Tommie has 4 and Mark has 3. And they're all little mouths.
Yeah, I think I've got a couple of those too, and you got to keep food coming into them all along, right?
To be honest, I've got 3 little mouths and 1 big mouth.
That's true. That's true. Tommie's oldest just graduated from high school, but it's not about the money. It's about the example, and it's about instilling in our children that the priorities in life, the true meaning in life, is building community and showing love to people around you in your community. And I just hope that at the end of the day that my kids can see how hard I work to show that love and spread that love throughout our community.
Yeah. And these aren't just buzzwords. These are like cornerstones of our mission. So community, authenticity. And, there is nobody else around here doing authentic barbecue. And like any great superhero, the responsibility falls on us to do it the right way before somebody else comes along and does it the wrong way. And that's what becomes known. We believe in this and we believe in doing it the right way. And we know that if we cook quality products the authentic Carolina way, people will taste the difference and it'll be successful.
It's a tough job, but we're glad we've got folks like you spreading the gospel of Carolina barbecue way up north in Maryland. I know you may be below Mason-Dixon, but still way up north there. Okay,
guys, I'm below Mason-Dixon, just so you know. Not maybe, we are.
Yeah, we're Southerners too.
On it.
Southerners, that's all we're saying. We're Southerners.
Fair enough. All right. As a Southerner, then you're going to love this next part. I don't pull it out often, but it's our low and slow showdown. So we've got some quick hitters, just kind of 1-word answers. If I need some other extra explanation, I'll get it from you. But otherwise, we're going to hit 1-worders. And so we're starting from the top. If you're cooking, do you want gas, charcoal, pellets, or wood?
Wood.
Your favorite wood?
Oak.
Why?
Most consistent. I also love mesquite a little more personally, but I agree with the consistency of oak.
Pork, beef, chicken, or something else? Crab.
Is turkey too naughty to say?
No, come on with it.
Beautiful turkey lately, and I think that might be my personal current favorite.
I'm hog all the way.
The best state in these United States for barbecue?
Why you make us say this?
It's North Carolina.
It's Carolina.
There you go. So the best North Carolina barbecue style, or I guess I'll say Carolina barbecue style, is it Eastern, just vinegar, Western, where we mix some ketchup in there, or that mustard stuff they do in South Carolina, which I'm becoming more of a fan of?
Team East.
Eastern.
East for it. Fair enough. All right. Is your barbecue better with or without the sauce?
With.
This is the big one. Is barbecue a verb or a noun?
I'm going to count to 3. Are you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Noun.
Very good. You really are from the South. I'm so glad to hear you say that. And that, my friends, is the lowdown from the folks behind Farm BBQ, Will and Tommie. And we'll give a shout out to Mark as well. Glad you guys are doing what you do. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Really
for
great
having
to be
us.
on the show.
We're truly honored. Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
And
thank
you
you.
for doing it too, for keeping this alive and spreading the word. We appreciate it.
Definitely my pleasure. You've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show on the Mesh.tv network of podcasts. Be sure to visit us online at lowslowbbqshow.com. That's where you'll find the blog, and these guys' recipe for their sauce will be there next week. You can hear other podcast episodes. If you like what you hear in the Low and Slow Barbecue Show, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast network. That helps other folks find us. Remember, visit lowslowbbqshow.com, and you can now subscribe to our newsletter. It's the Lowdown. Do that, and we'll send you the latest podcasts, the blogs, recipes, barbecue events, all that in your email inbox every Tuesday. Special thanks to our guests, Tommie and Will, as well as their friend Mark, for doing what they do at Farm BBQ. Thanks as well to our producer, Andrew Moose, and the whole team at the Mesh.tv network of podcast. Most especially, thank you for listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Remember, for the best barbecue and the best barbecue podcast, make it low and slow.